Hi, and thank you so much. So my colleagues say I'm old guy, so 10 years more than when I start my journey with Quadrata. So Quadrata is an Italian system integrator that started to use Zabbix at least 10 years ago with the technology in mind, because my background is system administrator, mainly a geek, no? So like most of you, no? So I'm not sales guy. I'm not a blah 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 guys that pronounce no DevOps, no agile or some. Well, I don't want to say stupid, but something like that. So I like the real, the real stuff like Zabbix and the open source technology. Why the open source technology and why we decide to use Zabbix? Because it's something that is working very well, and the principle is very important, is keep simple. And sometimes we lose this kind of idea, to keep the stuff simple, also inside Zabbix. And in my customer, multiple times, I see using Zabbix to do everything, no? To schedule jobs, doing all the fancy stuff with JavaScript, preprocessor, REST API, inside the REST API, and items internal in the same items, and something like that. And I strongly suggest, after 10 years of work in big environment, enterprise, customer, and after my first falls, no, because I'm not a guru, so I learned something during my years of work. And what I learned is try to simplify everything, because less piece in the puzzle, it's better for everyone. No, it's easy to manage, it's easy to find the root cause of the problem, and a lot of other stuff. Also, it's easy to explain to your employee, because the employee now is changing every year. So you need to stay very close to the problem and not use so spatial, so complicated way, new language, because every time, no, I have an employee to say, oh, I found Rust. Okay, what do you want to do? A simple script. Okay, use a bash, no? Why you do need to change Python, multiple libraries, Go, compile, and something like that if you can use bash? Or a simple shell scripting that we can use in every operating system without so special Red Hat version or something like that. So keep your works very simple. And why so much discussion, no, in the beginning? Because with such experience, we open to our company in different countries, no? And last year, we opened in the United Arab Emirates, and we start our journey also in the Middle East. In the Middle East, it was different because it's not my country, it's not my culture. Everything is a new challenge for me and also for my family sometimes. And what we bring with us from Italy to Middle East, we bring our knowledge and our experience. It means a lot. I think a lot of. Because we are someone, me as all of you, have a huge experience in big enterprise company, complex scenario, complex architecture, complex software. We fix most of the time every problem because we are geek And we solved the problem. Also, we like the problem. Also, we like Zabbix. Zabbix, it's not easy. And most of the time, I say to Alex, we need a better Zabbix, a simple version. Because the manager wants to see nice and fancy graphs, fancy color. They don't like a very complex low-level discovery with multiple JavaScript and new developer language and something like that. They only want to see red, nice red, but maybe the gold, the new bronze, something like that in the dashboard, because it's fancy, no? Great graphs, gouge, something like that. But by the way, so as a technician, we bring our experience. Our experience to do what? Create architecture. It's not so complicated architecture in this case. It's a standard multi-data center architecture with a backend in MySQL, with a replica, and something new. The native Zabbix HA, no? The new high availability application coming directly from Zabbix. And no one say so much for this very cool new feature of Zabbix. Or maybe, yes, someone say something, but it's very important to know that now in 6.0, we are able to create such complex environment. Why it's complex? Because there is no layer 2 connection between the data center. Before, when we are using the chorusing and the old legacy way to achieve high availability for Unix application, we need to have a multicast and UDP and some other specific requirement to achieve this kind of configuration. And now, using only TCP, so layer 3, we are able to create a native high availability application directly with our Zabbix server. So it brings some new opportunity in multiple environments, like cloud environment, Kubernetes, and so on and so forth. Not so many, also Zabbix explains so well the opportunity that we can have using this specific new feature. And other important stuff from our point of view is to manage the third data center. Most of the time, it's the basic requirement for financial institute, the disaster recovery site, because usually they have a high availability site, but in some specific scenario, they require a disaster recovery. Disaster recovery can be made with a multiple solution because the core of Zabbix in the end is the database. Is the core and also the problem of Zabbix. Because if you don't create a good database, or at least you don't think so much how you can distribute the information between the three nodes, you can have multiple problems. In this case, we see a dedicated infrastructure based on MySQL. Okay, I don't like so much MySQL, and I started to use Postgres at least 4 years ago, 5 years ago. Why? Because it's completely open source, at least at the moment, because someone in the open source world is changing the licensing, so at the moment, Postgres seems to be open source. They provide a lot of good tools around the database. For instance, the high availability tool like called Patroni, and pgbackRest for backupping of the database, and everything is very good quality software, and everything is integrated. And it's very easy to create a complex scenario like this one with a dedicated replica, at least on S3 storage in a remote data center. So it's very fancy solution. But at the moment, in some specific scenario, we see MySQL with the traditional active implementation, the cross. I don't like so much this kind of solution. With a third node with the standard asynchronous replication. So in this case, we cannot do so much. We can only tune the MySQL to provide Zabbix a good database backend. Not so, we cannot do so much. And what we suggest most of the time, we suggest to move all the monitoring stuff directly to the proxy. So our Zabbix server don't do nothing when we talk about data collection. All the data collection will be through the proxy. So we can have one or multiple proxy for data center. And in this way, we can distribute the workload. We can monitoring only the device in the specific data center. So we avoid the communication through one data center to another. So the traffic is better to stay in the same location. So the concept of proximity. And also, starting from Zabbix 6.0, the Zabbix proxy is it's able to understand who is the active node. So at the moment, it's very nice what we have in 6.0. And we have all the pieces for a great enterprise monitoring solution, okay? The last part is to provide a Zabbix GUI to the final user. And sometimes it's a problem. It's a problem because if we have 3 data centers, 1, 2, 3, with the load balancer on top to this data center, das data center, good question. Most of the time, I don't have an answer. And we decide to go directly to the IP of data center 1 or data center 2 or at least data center 3. Because there is no the 4th data center that is able to expose the Zabbix interface. By the way, is what we can have sometimes. Another great idea is to avoid the use of Keep Alive. Why? Because Keep Alive is not so fancy from my point of view. It is so vintage. It used the concept of VIP, so virtual IP, and I prefer to go when there is no other option to have a sort of load balancing of the database request from the Zabbix server to the database backend. I strongly suggest to use HA proxy because it's more easy, and also we can use all the communication only in TCP and layer 3. So it's better to stay simple, okay, and avoid the using of the concept of virtual IP from my point of view. Why we cannot use, or maybe we can use also for MySQL, but it's better to use HA proxy with Postgres because HA proxy must know who is the master in the database cluster. And using Patroni, it's easy because Patroni exposes as an endpoint the status of the cluster. So the HA proxy is able to know who is the master very, very easily. With MySQL, we need to work, and maybe could be not so it's easy, but not so nice implementation. And okay, after we create the architecture, we need to start to monitoring the infrastructure of the customer. And we must collect the information from the customer, and it's not completely easy. Most of the time, the customer does not know who is important, or maybe they know who is important, but they don't know how to achieve this specific monitoring, or why automatically this application is working, is working. Why? I don't know. So we need to dig around, and we need to start to analyze and organize all the work and also all the information that is coming from the customer. Because when you start a new project, could be a mess. We start project that supposed to be finished in a few months, and after a few weeks, we discover that the customer does not know so much, the information are not so clear, and the project goes through the months, and we need to close in some way. So keep in mind, collect every information if it's possible, try to analyze starting from the first request of the customer, and in some case, for instance, in this case, we have used the concept of cumulative host to represent the services. Because in some cases, the services could be a complex scenario. Wolfgang have created a great application to show the complexity of a big scenario with a great graphical tool. Very nice work. And when we need to achieve this, some simple scenario of monitoring as the services, it could be useful to use the new Zabbix 6.0 aggregated or calculated items, with the for each and aggregate for each or something like that. Why? Because we can use the concept of the tags inside the items that is new starting from Zabbix 6.0, and we can summarize, or we can create what do you want, because Zabbix have a multiple function. And using this concept of cumulative host, we can represent the status of all the service for this specific host. Triggers, okay, a big topic, because triggers is something very important, because sometimes we have a customer that have 100,000 of trigger every day in problem status. Why? Because there are problems, but they don't fix the problem. So every day is a new day with new problems. Why we need to keep attention on the triggers? Because Zabbix can be can be slow in some specific scenario. So it's better to limit the number of active trigger. Also, the dashboard is not able to show so many problems. And I strongly suggest to analyze and try to tune very, very well the creation of the problems inside your infrastructure. And also to discuss with the customer. Keep in mind, discuss with the customer, try to arrange a sort of a deal on when we have a problem for this specific application, because also the customer is not able to understand when there is a problem. So you must help the customer to identify the point where probably you can have a problem inside your infrastructure. And last, because can be very useful, the maps. Sometimes for big, complex architecture or service, it's very useful to create a maps. It's something that is out of the box since I think Zabbix 2 dot something, and is not so fancy, but can be powerful if you use the right color, the right icons for representing, to represent the customer needs. And in this case, the maps can be your tool also to show how the information is going through maybe multiple services, because you can create some concept of fake icons that can change the color based on the trigger status, and in this way you can create also some nice representation of the flow of the data or how it works the service. And something new, the gauge here is coming from a dedicated custom development. Why? Because a few years ago, Zabbix opened the door to the customization with the front-end modules, so we can extend easily. Okay, not so easily, but we can extend the Zabbix front end. In this case, the customer wants to have the gauge, the concept of the gauge that we can see at least in 7.0 in Zabbix. But they want to use now. So we must redesign and create a custom module. And when you create a custom module, please, I don't want to say it's easy, but in this case, we try to create a sort of JSON file with all the customization needed inside this module. So we don't need to recode something to change, I don't know, the host group ID or the tags that represents these specific graphs or something else. So put all your information in a dedicated JSON or what you want. At least it's very useful to have a JSON because it's easy to manage. And the game is done, because everything is provided directly inside the modules, okay? So I strongly suggest to look to the Zabbix module, what we have now, because in 7.0 we can use the widget modules, and we can extend also the widgets. We are starting to use some new widgets inside Quadrata, because we want to extend the concept of representation of the information inside Zabbix. Now, keep in mind, if we want to monitor something in Zabbix, at the moment we only are able to see the real-time data in the latest data page. The latest data page is a sort of big Excel with row, column, and the customer does not like so much this approach, because it's not easy to look, it's not easy to understand what kind of metrics are, and it's better to provide a graphical page that represents the object that we want to monitoring. So if we are monitoring an operating system, I want to see a space with all, the CPU status, the availability, the available RAM, the file system, and the mount point of the host, the network interface, but everything in a dedicated page, all in a single page, like single pane of glass that we probably see in 7.0 for all the Zabbix server. So, what is missed inside the maps, and what are some very cool features that we can have in Zabbix? this one is very old request, and is related to the feature to have multiple links between the objects inside the maps. Why? Because multiple times you need to show a router with multiple connection coming from different operators, but Zabbix it's able to show at least one link per object. I cannot have multiple links with maybe some real-time information that go through the lane. And the only way is to create a fake icon with a blank image. So keep in mind Zabbix to do something related to this kind of problem. So why I discuss so much and why I don't speak about financial institute? So how I start with so huge a number of words and I don't say nothing because I don't have the permission to speak and tell you our job in the bank. So sorry for a huge amount of words without a real correlation, but I need to spend 30 minutes to say something. So thank you very much. If you have some question, I'm here. See you later. Thank you.